you're loved by God. He loves you. He's thought about you. He's thinking about you. He's with you every moment. He wants you to enjoy him. And so Paul says, look, all you who are beloved, he said, my joy and my crown. He says, because I see you growing, I can tell you right now that Pastor Mac, that Pastor William, when he sees you show up to church, and when he hears about your testimonies, and when he hears about how God has blessed you, and how God is keeping you, and how God is providing for you, it becomes joy to him, and then it should become joy to everyone else in the building. See, part of who we are as Christians, and part of who we are as the people of God, is the reality that we're all connected in some way, shape, or form, and that my life has implications on your life, and that your life has implications on the next life, and that life has implications on the next life. And what happens is that when we share our testimony, when we share the glory that God has given to us, joy is passed from one person to another, and to another. And that's what the gospel is about. The gospel is essentially us passing our joy, passing our heart, passing our passion, passing our belief, passing our blessings on from one person to the next. And from that person on to the next person, and from that person on to the next person, until the whole world might be saved. It's about finding out who Jesus is and finding out who he wants us to be. So Paul says, look, you're my joy, you're my crown, you're who I've been thinking about, you're who I'm writing to, you're who I want you to understand who I am and what I want you to be. So Paul continues on, and he talks about a couple of people that have been hanging out with him, who've been teaching with him, who've been preaching with him. And one of the interesting things that Paul says about the two people, Euodia and Syntyche, is that look, I need you to stop worrying about the sweating the small stuff. He had two people that were religious minded, who traveled with him and around him, and he basically said, look, I need y'all to stop sweating the small stuff. The problem that so many of us have, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox as denominations and as religious dispensations, is that we sweat the small stuff too much. We sweat the small stuff too much. I'm sure that Pastor William agrees with me is that the small stuff ain't important. The most important thing that we as believers should realize is that do you believe in Jesus? Do we have him in common? And if we have Jesus in common, why are we worried about everything else? Because everything else is the small stuff. Christ is the central theme that should reach into every single person's heart, mind, and spirit. He says, so you two stop sweating the small stuff. And so y'all who are out here today, if you got somebody who you know and they try to tell you your religion ain't right, or you ain't doing it right, or you're doing it wrong, just tell them, hey baby, let's stop sweating the small stuff. Do we have Jesus in common? Yeah. Because if we can put all that behind us, then we can get on to being really in the joy of the Lord.
Amen.
And so Paul continues on, and the next thing that Paul says that's crucial to us, and crucial to our understanding, and crucial to our joy, and gets us to the point when we glorify God, like the Westminster Catechism says, to glorify God and to enjoy him every day, all day, every second, every moment. He says, why are you sweating the small stuff? He says, know this. He says, I want you to realize this. He says in verse number 4, he says, rejoice in the Lord always, and again, I say rejoice, which means find your joy, baby. What makes you happy? What puts a smile on your face? Yeah. What tickles you? What makes you giggle and laugh at God? See, one of the things that as Christians we get too caught up on is being pious and being serious and acting like, that everything got to be serious. No, God is laughing. God has a sense of humor. He wouldn't have made a platypus if he didn't have a sense of humor. How you gonna make an animal that is furry like a beaver, got a tail like a rat, got a beak like a duck, and got feet that are webbed like a duck? Come on, really? He just took some leftover parts, put them together, and just laughed. I'm gonna see what they do with that. What they gonna call it? A platypus. And so he has a sense of humor. He says, I want you to find your joy. He says, let your gentle spirit be known amongst all men. And then what's crucial is he says, stop worrying. How do you find joy? By giving up the word. Stop worrying about what's going on. He says, stop being anxious. Stop being worried. Stop being uptight. Stop fixating on. Stop concentrating on the things that are so small in this life. Stop it. Stop worrying. It's the one thing that will kill you faster than anything else. It's not heart disease. It's not cancer. It's not strokes that kill you. You know what kills you? A word.
Yeah. Because
a worry that you live forming in your mind causes all the rest of this to start breaking down. But when we stop worrying, and when we really just give it to God and say, for God I live, for God I die, for God I have my way, my being, my truth, where I find my life, when we give up worrying, we make God smile. Because God, when God looks at us and He sees us go through life and we found joy and we have a smile on our face even when the lights are cut off, when we're going through our lives and we've got joy and we're smiling and we're chipper and we're happy even though we have cancer, when we're smiling and we're happy and we got joy, even though things around us might be crumbling down around us, when we have joy, we're able to smile in the face of the enemy. God smiles.
That's it.
And that's part of glorifying Him. See, part of the glorification of God and part of glorifying God is to realize that the smile on my face in the midst of my tribulation, in the midst of my troubles, in the midst of my inclinations, is that I now have joy in the midst of that. And when I joy in God, I glorify Him. And when I glorify God, He blesses me. And when He blesses me, I glorify Him. And when He gets glorified, I get blessed. And when I glorify Him, He gets blessed and goes up and back and up and back. I tell you, that's how God works.
Yeah.
See, we live down on the water. We live down right near the Gulf of Mexico. You can't go no further south than where we at. If you go any further south, you're swimming. Amen? And so we live right now, and so we oftentimes, we have become beach bums in the summertime. Every weekend we at the beach. And one of the wonderful things about the beach that I've realized, what I've noticed, is that when you stand at the edge of the water, a wave comes in. And it touches you and it washes back out. And as soon as that wave starts to go out, another one comes back in. It touches you and it rolls back out. And one of the things that I realized as I was standing one day is that there was dirt on my feet. There was a mess that was on me. And a wave came in, it touched me, and it washed it all away. But while I was standing there, I was still in the mud and in the sand that I was in, so there was more dirt on me. And another wave came in, it touched me and washed it all away again. But I was still in my situation. I was still in my mess. I was still in the dirt. I was still in the muck. I was still in the mire. But the wave kept coming in and touched me and washed it all away again. And that's what we have to joy. If we get concentrated on the dirt that's around us, we don't enjoy what's all happening around, the rest of the things that are happening. If we get caught up with the dirt in our lives, we miss the glory. We get caught up with the mess, and we miss the meaning. Because the meaning of life is to enjoy God. To enjoy Him every day of our lives. And when we get caught up in the worry and in the mess of life, we miss Him. We miss the small things. We miss the fact that I was worried about what I was going to eat. But they showed up with a can of beanie weenies in there. And I missed them because they were behind the empty pancake batter box. But when I stopped focusing on what I didn't have, and I just started moving some things around in my life, I started realizing I had more in the back of my cabinet than I ever thought I had.
Yeah.
And it might not have been anything I wanted, but maybe it was anything I needed right then. And sometimes we get caught up on what we want so bad. I want a new car. I want a nice suit. I want some Jordans. I want. And when the chips are down and I really realize what I got everything I need. Everything I really need, I got a little wife. children, I got good family, I got good friends, I got a support system, I got somebody around me, and I got a church that's here right now that is looking at me and hearing me speak. I got something. You have something, even though you might not have everything I have, you sure enough got something, and beyond any of that, we have each other.
Yeah.
That's where our joy comes from. He says, let's stop worrying. I want you to stop worrying about everything you don't have. He says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, give thanks to God, and let your requests be known to Him. God said, talk to me, baby. What you looking for? What are you in need of? Not what are you in want of, what are you in need of? What's been on your heart and on your mind that you really just need? And sure enough, God says, give it to me. Tell me everything you need. And I sure enough answer that prayer. I sure enough will be there in the midst of all of it. He says, look. He said, be anxious over nothing. He said, and Paul says, because the peace of God, which surpasses all your comprehension, all your understanding, it will guard your heart and your mind in Jesus Christ. Yeah. Paul said, look, you can't get what God's up to. You can't even give him that. That's why Jesus said, I came that you might have life and that you would have it more abundantly. Yeah. Paul says he came that you would experience the exceeding abundance of God. Yeah. And so when we look at it, we have to realize that once we give up our worry,